everybody. Today I will be making babka. The best way to describe babka would be it's like a cross between bread and a cake. Best of both worlds, I'd say. Obviously I don't have any traditional recipes, so before you say this is not the authentic, it's not an authentic recipe I'm using. This is my take on babka. I love it because it's a fluffy, light bread dough, and I'm going to layer it with chocolate and pistachio and a hint of cardamom and rose. All delicious stuff, and it's going to be a little bit labor of love, but it's all worth it in the end. Start with 400 grams of plain flour, 200 grams of strong white flour, 10 grams of yeast, 10 grams of salt on the side, 40 grams of caster sugar, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, and then I'm going to give it a quick mix. Now go in 3 large eggs, just lightly whisked. Here I've got 250 ml of whole milk and 70 grams of melted butter. Give it a quick whisk, and all of this will go into our flour mix. The dough has been kneading for 10 minutes. It's really sticky. It's still a very wet dough, but it's very elastic. Look at that. And here I've got a plain bowl and I have very lightly greased it. In goes the dough, and it's looking lovely, and I'm going to cover it with cling film and leave it to rest in a nice warm spot in your kitchen for an hour. An hour into the proof, and this has slightly grown in size, which is perfect. And I'm going to rest this in the fridge for an hour, because what it wants is for the dough to slightly firm up. While the dough is resting in the fridge, I'm going to get started with the filling. So I've got 140 grams of dark chocolate roughly chopped, 40 grams of cocoa powder, and then 140 grams of unsalted butter. I'm going to put this on the hob and let it all melt on a very low heat. It's only taken a few seconds to melt. Add just literally a few drops of rose water. And for the crunch, I have got 100 grams of pistachios, which are roughly chopped. An hour later, the dough has been resting in the fridge. It's risen, it's a bit firmer, and it'll be easier to handle. So we're going to get this out. It's a lovely, beautiful dough. Just going to divide this into roughly 2 equal portions. Get lots of flour on the surface so it doesn't stick. And then we're going to try and roll it into a rectangle, which should be around maybe 25-30 by 40, roughly, we'll see. Now that is looking pretty good. It's nice and thin. I'm going to spread half the chocolate mix. Don't forget, I am making 2 babkas, so I'm going to spread half of it on this. And now I'm going to take half of these pistachios and sprinkle them. And now from one side we're going to start rolling as tight as you can. Try and keep it as smallish as possible because you want it to fit into your loaf tin. Now taking a really sharp bread knife, I'm going to slice it in half. Now this is the messy bit, but don't worry, it'll all be fine. Oh, look at those layers. Now keeping this point together, I'm just going to twist this on top. Look at that. And here I've got a prepared tin. It's messy, but don't worry, just go for it. And look at that. Here are the two Babkas. And it's been proving for an hour. Look at the size of that. It's really proven very well. They look stunning. And no need to do anything. I've got the oven at 180°, and they're going to go in for 30 to 35 minutes. While the Babka is in the oven, I've got 200 grams of caster sugar here, and to this I'm going to add 130 ml of water, and I'm just going to bring this to a boil very quickly. Once it starts boiling, just let it boil for 3-4 seconds and then turn the heat off. And now while they're still warm, we're going to just brush the sugar syrup on top of the Babkas. And I know there's a lot of syrup, but it needs that moisture. And when it is very slightly cooled down, just with a knife, I'm going to try and loosen it out a little bit. It's anyway super soft. Oh boy, look at that beauty. Look at that. Look at that beauty. And this smells amazing. You can see the layers. The house is smelling amazing, and it is one of my favorite breads to eat. You've just got a hint of cardamom and a tiny bit of rose because we haven't used much. But the pistachios and the dark chocolate, it's not overly sweet, but it's sweet. Oh, it's just lovely, and the texture of the bread is amazing. I hope you guys will give this a go and give us a thumbs up if you like the recipe. Also leave a comment, and please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button. This is best eaten fresh, but it does last for a couple of days. But if you can have it the day or the day after, it's best. Bye, see you next week.